if you're desperate because your number is so little on the top, you're not making enough impressions, you're not connecting with enough people, and the number end up being 1 or 2, it's almost like, oh, that's going to cover my mortgage. I remember those days in my early years, and I get it. But when you get this right, number one, you can open the valve at the top far broader, and it means you have more to work with and you can afford to say no. And that's a great gift to be in. When and if you know they're not a right fit, you just say no. All right, so let's talk about some frameworks now. I'm going to go through these very quickly just to give you the frameworks. Then we're going to unbundle the ones that we're talking about today, which are related to your marketing and sales process. But I want to make you aware, all the successful businesses we've studied, we've reviewed over 5,000 companies. This also includes Apple and Nike and Disney and the NFL and Microsoft and many other big brands, as well as our clients and smaller brands and everything in between, to identify what are the core components that makes them work versus others. So there are 5 critical steps here, 5 pillars to your business roadmap. Again, I'm going to go high level, and then we're going to unbundle these. Now, I'm going to introduce you to 3 frameworks that follow this. Framework number 1 is called your business roadmap. Okay, you might want to write that down. Vision and growth plan, key pillar number 1. Key pillar number 2, marketing, right? Number 3, sales. Number 4, fulfillment and operations. And number 5 is finances. Now, for companies to succeed, what do you think the mastery level in all 5 of those needs to be for a company to be thriving, successful, and profitable, right? Just think about that. You probably want to make sure that you're clear on your mission, your vision, your values as a team and a company and what you offer, right? That's vision and growth plan. Marketing. You want to be clear on the marketing and how to go out and get clients. Number 3 is sales, having a methodology to sell and convert clients. Number 4, you got to be able to fulfill your promise, because if you don't, you're going to get, you're going to be tattooed all over the internet. Number 5, finances. If you don't master financial understanding, your financial statement, your operating statement, your cash flow statement, etc., like there's no hope for that business to thrive long term, right? So the more mastery you have in all 5 of those pieces. Now, the next bundle we're going to talk about is the marketing piece. So this is the marketing piece in that wheel, right? We're going to focus on most of that today together, right? So there are 5 key pillars in the marketing wheel. Number 1 is your vision and growth plan. You probably see some very similar languaging here that we're going to be going through. So your vision and growth plan. Small Business Administration described 2 things, or three main reasons why most people fail. It was a 2007 report. One of the 3 reasons was that don't have a current marketing plan or even have one in writing. So my question to you would be, do you have one in writing? And ideally through today, you're going to have a lot to be able to build on. Now, we do this with our clients together as we work further, but the vision and growth plan becomes very important, right? Most people don't, what's the old saying from Allstate commercials? Most people don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan, right? So you got to build the plan, reverse engineer it. Number 2, build connection campaigns. We're going to spend a lot of time on this wheel, by the way, today. So again, I'm going to go high level and then we're going to go deeper together through our time. Number 3 are lead machines. Like, how would your business change? Number 1, if you connected to more people, got more visibility, got more people, having some interest, right? And it's not what a lot of experts profess and, go out and post 50, 60 times a day on social media or try to get a viral video. Most of that stuff is just wasteful energy and people get frustrated. And maybe you've been there. What if there was a way to be able to go out there though and get your right clients for literally and get in front of them for pennies? And we'll show you that. Lead machines. What would happen for your business if you had a steady flow of even 3 to 5 new, consistent, predictable leads, high quality leads every single day? And then you turned it up. Like some of our clients have to over 1,000 leads a day. Like, what would that be like for you? What would that do for you? How would it change the game? It's possible. We'll show you how. Number 4, education-based events. These are conversion events. We're going to introduce you to some of the principles with that and how you can increase your results 300 to 900% with a counterintuitive way to look at this that I've never met anybody that does it the way we do it to get those kind of results. And then number 5 in this wheel of marketing is scaling and optimizing. Have you ever been at a place like me in my I've been doing this 30 years. So in my early years when, the first 10 years was a train wreck, frankly, because I just didn't understand all of the things I now understand. And ideally, again, you're getting a lot here. And one of the biggest things, I would get bored with things that worked. That's just the truth. Like, that's a damaging confession or cautionary tale. So when it works, go deep with it. Go as deep and as fast and as hard. We had a client we were working with recently where their ads were performing well. based on real results, not their imaginary results and expectation. They were getting 5-to-1 ROI on their ad spend. And because they had heard about somebody, this is a kiss of death. This is one of the things that will cause your business to go in disarray. Number one, it's following too many people. Number two, it's listening to people who your business is not exactly the same as theirs. They heard about some expert in their niche that was getting, in at least they thought they heard, it was 9-to-1. Well, I happen to know who that company is, and I know their numbers because I have access to them through a friend. And they were actually outperforming it, but they thought, like, because they hear that they have, 10,000 people on a webinar, that they're getting better results on how much they're spending to acquire a lead, how much they're spending to acquire appointment, how much they're spending to acquire a client, which are all critical numbers. So we'll cover some of that in a little bit, because they just don't know the benchmark. They don't know most people don't understand how to scale because they don't understand what I just shared for you. And I hope you write it down. Know my benchmarks, know my metrics for my niche. Now, if we work together, we end up bringing that to you, and we can't possibly do that one by one through the day to day, but we'll give you some ranges to be thinking about for your niche. And then if we do work together, we have the research to be able to go out and present that to you. So, and it really then just becomes a math game. And then if you're getting 5-to-1, which I mentioned that client was, how deep do you want to run that? And it is scalable. There is no limit on the leads for that niche. Now, not every niche is created equal, and not every niche would fit that. One of our clients worked in a service industry, and their capacity per year in that type of niche was, approximately 20-some thousand businesses, but we were getting them to 7,000 a year. And there were, thousands every year being created, right? So if you've ever wanted to own a market share, some of what we're going to show you today is going to show you, be able to give you the ability to do that. So that's the marketing wheel, 5 key pillars: vision and growth plan, connection campaigns, lead machines, education-based conversions, events, and then go deep and scale it, especially when it works. Next is the sales roadmap. There's 6 pillars to the sales roadmap. Now, again, I'm going to go high level fairly quickly through this, and then we're going to come back to it right later in the process. So number one, consistent theme here, vision and growth plan, because you need to have a vision and growth plan for your sales department. 2, meet and greet. Most people don't have scripts in their sales process. For example, this is our company internal sales playbook. It's got scripts in it, how to overcome objections. It's got, dozens of ways to overcome objections. It's, how to be able to present. It's how to be able to answer the phone. Like, all of this is in a sales playbook. This had evolved from one of my original coaching companies back going, almost 20 some years ago, 25 years ago. This program we used to sell for $5,000, magnetic persuasion and communication. And inside of it, it had the reporting mechanisms for sales reps to be able to use. Things that are trackable, like how many calls did you make today? How many appointments did you set today? Tracking. Most people don't have the tracking, right? So your greet and meet is about giving the intention. Part of the reason I like to share the intention or the agenda up front and even just share what we got, because people inevitably will come on, especially if they don't know us that well, they're like, guard is up. I just want you to be able to dive in and learn. And yes, we've got an invitation to move forward with us. We'd be an idiot not to do that. Like, only dumb companies don't make offers. And we'll talk about some of that in a little bit too, right? But you got to do it in an effective way, right? So meet and greet is really important. Number 3 is qualify. One of the best things for all of you to learn, and it took me 20 years to learn this. No, we're not a fit. No, we're not a fit. And you don't have to apologize for it. You don't have to be shameful about it. You don't have to feel guilty about it. But if you're desperate because your number is so little on the top, you're not making enough impressions, you're not connecting with enough people, and the number end up being 1 or 2, it's almost like, oh, that's going to cover my mortgage. I remember those days in my early years, and I get it. But when you get this right, number 1, you can open the valve at the top far broader, and it means you have more to work with, and you can afford to say no. And that's a great gift to be in. That when and if they're not a right fit, you just say no. And you get them connected to others that might be a better resource for them and be usable for them, be valuable for them. Always be valuable, whether it's yes or no, or it doesn't work out exactly, right? So that's step 3. Step 4 is you present. A couple people had said, hey, can I learn how to present the offers? Now, we're truthfully going to be able to give you access to some other assets that will show you how to present more effectively than the time we're going to have to spend today. Number 5 is enroll your clients. How to enroll clients without them feeling sold. How great would that be? This process, by the way, the 6-step process, is how we were able to turn customer service people into high performers. And we can spend a lot of time on this. Lots of companies, when we work with them, if you remember back to that one slide that shows what's included when we review the calls of your presentations. Like, if you had sales calls, either you or your team, we review those. We review scripts, we modify, we customize scripts, all these sorts of things to help our clients just get better at what they do and convert more, right? 6, follow up. I think it was William who was saying a little bit earlier, I think it was William who was saying earlier, one of the biggest things he got out of our book, which we're, Phil can probably post a link to this in the chat or whatever. But in the book, we actually have scripts in here that you can model from and use. That is one of the most amazing scripts to just connect with people, because think about the last 10 purchases you made. Did you get a phone call? Even a voice message? Did you get a thank you card? Well, what if you started doing that and being serviceable to your clients? Do you think it might give you a competitive advantage? The answer is yes. And then on top of that, you actually learn how to do the mail, and you learn how to do the phone call and actually make other offers in a non-salesy, non-hypey way. The conversions go up, and it means your value is higher, and also allows you to be able to scale a lot easier, right? When you do that. So those are the 6 pillars of the sales process. Now, again, you might be new to our world. You're like, who the hell is this guy? This guy's just going a mile a minute. So you may have heard of this guy, Brian Tracy. So if you don't know us, it's okay. So Brian Tracy, I've been fortunate to develop a relationship with Brian over the years. And he says, Dan Kuschell simplifies marketing with his direct response branding strategy, gives you a step-by-step blueprint to follow, whether you're new or seasoned pro. Use it, apply it, and get ready to grow your business. If you're ready to grow your business, there's a lot you can learn here. Now, are you getting some good stuff here? If you are, can you type yes? And also one takeaway, at least so far through our first, 45 minutes or so together. Can you type it in the chat window? I'd love to just see. Stage my business. What do I create to take 90 days off? That's great. What else? What are some other key takeaways for you? The new model for exponential growth, up to 12. Oh, that was from earlier. Go ahead and type it in the chat window. By the way, I don't know what you drink to stay healthy and such, but green tea is a great little thing to use. Excuse me while I take a little sip. All right, let's dive in. My big problem at the time. I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, but I remember it like yesterday, where I had, a business that was doing okay. 1 month it was good. 1 month it was terrible. 1 month it was good. 1 month it was terrible. It was like this roller coaster that I was on, like this. And I like to do this about every 30 days, still do it today. But one of my early mentors taught me, and it was, you open up a sheet of paper, and what will it take to double my business? Sheet of paper. What will it take to 2x my business this month? And it's a great framework to get into, just be thinking. And if, I used to have a tendency, and my mentor taught me this, I would say, well, I can't think of anything. Well, if you could think of something, what would it be? And so he trained me to find little hinges that swing big doors, which is one of the reasons I like to carry these little hinges around and give them out to people. Little hinges that swing big doors. The other day when Perry Marshall was on with us and we shared this, I showed, he started laughing his tail off because he uses that analogy all the time. Little hinges do swing big doors, right? So sitting there writing on my piece of paper, this is going back a decade or so, actually longer than a decade, almost 20 years. I was writing this, and I remember, I had a small team at the time, and I broke out in a sweat. I can almost put myself in that state in this given moment. And I broke out in a sweat, and it sweat on the back. And I had a little more hair back then too, but I was also a little heavier. And not that you probably even wanted that info. And I was like, oh my gosh, to double my business, I'm going to have to hire more people. I'm going to have to hire 20 more. I think we had 20 staff members at the time. I'm going to have to hire 20 more people. And I was like getting nauseous, and I was getting restless in my stomach. And I was like, oh my God, that would be terrible. And that was about when I was introduced to the concepts we're talking about today and the genesis of online marketing 20 years ago, 22 years ago, give or take. And, thinking back to that time, and then like what happened, first of all, it wasn't amazing all of a sudden. It was a process, right? Building a business is a process. And then on top of that, maybe like you, I felt like I had some things against me that were stacked against me. I grew up in the inner city of Detroit. We were on welfare a few times. My dad struggled with I actually watched him fail, right? So if you model your parents, you have a tendency to do a lot of similar things. And so I felt like I was set up for failure. And in my early days, when I had my first company, which I started back in 1992, when I was a senior in college at Wayne State University, I started that first business, and we got off to a great start. We did 7 figures in about a handful of months. It was amazing. But I quickly realized I had zero clue on the fulfillment, operations, finance, management side of things. And, quickly, my best friend business partner decided he liked the money in the bank account, and he emptied it. So that was also a little strain. And then, here I was 22 years old trying to figure this stuff out, and I had to regroup, right? And that led to a bunch of inconsistency, truthfully, for about my first decade of business. So I don't know where you're at in the journey, and led me to a lot of emotions, because most of it felt like manual labor versus, like what a lot of people talk about today online. So many faces of success. And I want to introduce you to a couple of key lessons that I got from that. And ideally, you will benefit from them too, connect to them, and also avoid the mistakes I made. Number one is in my early day, I had a lone wolf mindset mentality. And it was a do it yourself. If you want it done right, do it yourself, right? My strengths were my weaknesses in building a business. Like, I was actually pretty good at selling stuff, but that led to problems in scaling the business, which is where a lot of the challenges happen. I was stuck in multiple roles. I'll talk about that in a second. I kept hitting a ceiling. Right? I'd get to a certain threshold and I'd hit a ceiling, and then usually it would crash, and I'd hit a ceiling and it would crash. And, and there were these barriers, and, there's actually psychology that proves that the common barriers for most people building businesses are the 1-3-10 model. You might want to write this down. The 1-3-10 is your 100,000, 300,000, a million, 3 million, 10 million, 10 million, 30 million, 100, right? So what are those thresholds that you got to get through? Because the same mentality and the same systems to get you from one can get you to the other, but not for very long, until you may see a dip. And you either have to upgrade those processes and systems and the mental game attached, or it likely will mean you're falling back, right? And there's nothing worse than falling backwards, right? The other part is, to scale the business, I thought it was about all these things out there. I got to do all these things. And what I learned is that you got to scale you. And that kind of ties to the mental game of things. This next one, no delegation system. I'll show you this in a second, why this was a problem, and maybe you can relate to it. And again, how do you make shifts and pivots? So I was trapped in my business. Oh, this was a big one. So it's trying to run a $10 million business with a $200,000 mindset and system. It'll explode or implode. And I saw that happen many times in my first decade. And I hope you learn from my mistakes. For example, being stuck in those roles. And a lot of this had to do with that DIY mentality. Because, if you look at a common org chart, you're going to have a visionary creator. You're going to have, someone who might be an operations, head. And then you have sales, marketing, fulfillment, and finance. Every organization is structured this way. Even Apple, it's just, bigger, right? I don't know if you see the problem here, but whose name is in all these boxes in my first decade? Me. No wonder it was hard to juggle all the balls, keep it going, and then not crash at some point. And maybe you're there, right? And again, my strengths also became my weaknesses, because I was pretty good at sales, but what ended up happening is it affected all these other ones. I wasn't a visionary leader at the time, in my opinion, certainly wasn't really great at execution on my own, right? All those sorts of things. And now today, this is, to a degree, what our company looks like now. When I had 200 employees in a company we had grown and built, and it was under these kind of hierarchies. People were in charge, they managed things, and then I was overseeing the managers. As the CEO, or, you even want to go to a higher level, you become more of a chairman of your business, and you could hire a CEO, right? And that sort of thing, right? So in addition, some of the lessons, painful lessons, is I was so busy chasing revenue, so busy chasing money, it never dawned on me that all I had to really do was look at the math. And that's where these benchmarks come in. How much do you pay per lead? How much do you pay per client? How much do you pay per appointment? If that's a model you're using. It's simple math, and the math either works or it doesn't. And then it's not an if it works, it's when it works. That's the truth. If you're struggling, it's not because it's a bad model and system and the math isn't working. Change the math, change the system. It's simple, pretty simple, how it will escalate for you, right? As long as you deliver on your promise. Next, to fragmented marketing is typically because of a lack of a real playbook, winging it, right? Not having it centralized, not having a process or system around it. Next is lack of understanding that in marketing, you want to build assets that live, right? There's the old adage of one to many, which a lot of people buy into, but I will also make the thing that the assets you create is one to duration, like it has life. Part of the reason we create stuff like this, and we create our podcast, and I create books and write books and still do that, is these things are going to live on beyond me and my kids. And that's conscious as a choice, right? I've got people who still reach out to me about my original book. Where did it go? These two books. This one was the first book I ever wrote, called A Champion in the Making. Awaken the Champion Within Your Life, Business, and Relationships. I have people that reach out to this, and I haven't put focus on this in 20 years, 25 years. And then also this book called Bootstrap Business, which was a collection of other experts, Tom Hopkins, Jack Canfield, and a whole lot more that reach out for these. They have asset value. Like if you do this right with your marketing, they're assets for you that live on even beyond you, right? So some other things to think about in your exponential growth part one. You're planting seeds. Planting seed, the key is consistency and frequency. Avoid the start and the stops. You're better off doing one thing every day than do one thing a week. Obviously, that makes sense, right? Another one is make more offers, which we'll talk about a little bit more. A mentor kind of wrung me around the neck a little bit and said, hey, we got to focus on some of these other more important things, like how many offers are you making? Consistency and frequency. Next is control the controllables, right? At the end of the day, you can only control your controllables. Here's the truth. Your ads aren't working in whatever platform, Facebook, Google, TikTok, blah, blah, blah. First of all, here's what you need to know. You're not beating the house. The game is rigged. For them, what is that rig? They want you to spend more money. The better you do, you will spend more money. Quit trying to get the cheapest damn leads. I don't mean to be graphic, but that's the truth. Make it a game to reverse engineer the math so you're set up to win, regardless if they increase prices, instead of being upset about the platform. One of my early mentors, Dan Kennedy, says, most average mediocre minds will focus on trying to get the cheapest leads. The companies who have the most success are fine if they are even at the highest level, because their math works. I encourage you, look at rigging the game in your favor by looking at the math. If it's not working, it means your model is flawed, not the advertising per se. Now, there's blends of this, by the way, there's gray in this. So I will also say that to be true too, but you control your controllables. Get visibility in your marketing. That's the first focus with connection campaigns. Build romance before you ask for a sale. Make that a focal point. We call that connection campaigns. Build romance and visibility and relationships, not just trying to get a transaction. You will find that will pay. If you do it right, combining it the way we're going to show you through today, this will change your whole business life. Globalization focus. Ideally, move from local to global thinking. Local business to global. Own your market. You can start local, but own that whole market local, right? Get the biggest share of the market instead of fragmented. So a global focus. Next, in the process of things, I hope you write this down. This applies to your messaging. It applies to your videos. It applies to your webinars. It applies to your lead gen. It applies to lead magnets. It applies to any presentation you might do. It applies to emails you send out, videos you send out, anything you send out. Essentially I encourage you, this was a game changer for us and me, is think of it first. I got to connect, right? I got to connect. So how do we connect? They got to know we know their issues. Next, pique their interest. We pique their interest. Hey, I've got a solution to this problem. Interested? If they say yes, then you move it forward. Then you don't have to waste time trying to sell people who aren't interested. Does that make sense? Think of how much simpler that is. And also, it's much easier to track the data if you have a system in place. Next, then you get into conversations. Get into conversations, either virtually online or get on the phone and get into the conversation, especially if you're under 3 million a year, because it's going to give you valuable intelligence so that you can structure things to become more automated. But most people are automating themselves right out of business. Have you seen these people? They bought into some expert who said, oh, you got to automate, you got to go completely digital. And they do. And they try to get all these campaigns and funnels and things set up. And they lose the human side of things. We call it the HOP, humanize, optimize, and personalize. So you want to get into conversations, especially if you're under a couple million. Why? Because you can find intelligence that can take you from 3 to 10 million and scale it in an automated way. But so many people rush to try to get out of that. Doesn't mean you have to do it, by the way. You can have other people on your team doing that and gathering that. And that leads to conversions, right? Conversions. Next, build your business like a sports team. When do sports teams stop looking for additional talent for their team? The answer is never. When do, if you're a football fan, if you're a football fan, type, I'm a football fan. Like I'm a big Michigan fan. Like today's a big day for our family. I had a chance to go to the game. They're playing Texas today and I had made a commitment to be here with you. So I set that on the side for this opportunity and I'm glad to be able to do that. But in football, in pro football, when do the Dallas Cowboys stop looking to get a new quarterback? Never. They have a first string, they have the name Dak Prescott, then they have a second string and a third string, and typically a practice squad player. And they're already thinking for if something happens, who is a quarterback we can have come in this next year? What if you built your team like that? And just because someone's a good quarterback today doesn't mean they're a good quarterback in 5 years either. Lifespan, right? Lifespan. Build it like a sports team. Next, get a proven system, recipe, blueprint in place, right? I don't know what you have right now, but think about, like, even if it's just starting to write some basic notes of the things you're doing to generate business. And ideally, some of these frameworks are going to help you as well. Next is, how many ways do you have people coming to you? The worst number is one, as you probably know, right? If you have one traffic source, now the most people have this one, WOM, word of mouth, referrals only. And then they wonder why there's so many cycles. But even if it isn't word of mouth and you had just Facebook, and then Facebook changes its algorithms, which they do every couple months, and you're completely depleted for a period of time of that, it's the same effect because of the one. Well, what would happen if, you had emails, you had Facebook, Instagram, you had Google Display, you had Google Local, you had a phone, you've got direct mail, you've got YouTube, etc. Like, what would happen if you had all of these filled where you had 1 to 2 leads coming in a day from every source? Do you think it would protect your business? Would it protect your business, right? Think about that. For me, learning these frameworks that we're sharing with you here now, today I'm able to be a present husband, a dad. I have a grandbaby, and my granddaughter calls me Pop, which is awesome. I'm the founder of our company, Breakthrough 3X. I've been able to build and grow multiple companies. Forbes rated our show, Growth to Freedom, as one of the top shows available. Right? I've been able to work with over 250,000 clients, over 5,000 CEOs and founders, been able to do some fun things and contribute to Virgin Unite and team up with Richard Branson on some things, been able to work with some of these clients we mentioned earlier, from the founder of ESPN and Dean Graziosi, and some of the most fascinating human beings on the planet, and be able to sell my own companies, 2 of them that were 8-figure businesses. And, I never want to say it's perfect, because it's not. But at the end of the day, if you'd have told me this kid from the inner city of Detroit would have had this happen, I would have told you that's too good to be true. And yet here we are together. If you want to go faster, maybe like Kevin, maybe like several of our clients we've been talking about already, then I want to invite you to apply. Why? In our program, we work one-on-one with you as a personal advisor. We give you accountability. We give you a peer success team. We give you weekly sprints that matches out to quarterly and annual goals, daily support, execution, and an implementation team. We give you the proven roadmaps and tools. We give you exposure. We help you level up your mental game. We help you with the financial benchmarking so you're not hit with surprises of what's not working and why. Because we get there way before that. We give you access to our team of tech support. And if you'd like our help with helping you grow your business exponentially, to help you implement and execute the marketing for you, well, I invite you to go to this link. You can do this now before they get all booked up, because we all have a certain amount we make available each week. You can go to breakthrough3x.com/apply. We'll walk through a specific custom plan for you. That's what it's about, just like we did for Kevin, just like we've done with every client that we've worked with. We had an initial one-to-one conversation. And I know that breaks a lot of rules. We're going to talk about some of that nonsense in a minute that you've been taught, that you've been misled to not work for you. We're going to have a one-to-one conversation. We're going to review your business. And then we're going to go, here's 3 to 5 key things that you could implement that are going to be needle movers. And if you'd like that, and you'd like to learn how we can help you that way, then go to breakthrough3x.com/apply. What is Breakthrough 3x? We're a fractional CMO marketing team that brings you the tools, the systems, the team to help you execute and implement. Our model is we feed you fish and we teach you to fish, which makes it unlike masterminds, coaching, unlike agencies. It's a hybrid, bringing the best of the best together, giving you access to our team of copywriters, graphic designers, traffic experts, SEO team, email marketing pros, and more. And if we have a fit, and only if we have a fit and there's a match, what ends up happening, what's included when we work together? You get up to 26 one-to-one sessions in a year. You get our bonus day that we do once a year. You get tech onboarding setup. We walk you through Breakthrough 3X University that's customized to you. I believe it was Walter a little bit earlier was sharing the one thing for him that's been most valuable is like the sales scripting that we're making available. Other people, it will be how to go and run certain ad campaigns to drive webinar attendees and a whole lot. We customize it to you, because do you really need another course? Tell me, do you? You don't need another course. You don't need another idea. You need that stuff like you need a hole in your ear. You need useful, relevant things right now to do now, and then what next? Would you agree? And if not, you could say that too. We're going to introduce you to the marketing and business KPIs based on thousands of clients we've worked with over years. You get access to our annual content calendar build out. We help you build out your content calendar so it's in one place for you and your team, whether it's all internal or whether it's fractional or anywhere in between. We also give you access to our growth planner, empathy map. Many of our clients have told us this one thing, we call it Beyond the Avatar process, that we do with research in advance for you, for your client, is worth the whole year working with us, just alone because they have much more clarity on their messaging. On top of that, we give you swipe files. Now, some of you have gotten our book and some of our resources, some of those things are in there, but again, we customize it. For example, here's an example of a swipe file. We built this for a client, but we have this internally. Plus, we have dozens and dozens and dozens of clients we built these for. Literally, how great would it be if you could run a webinar or a live cast or a challenge? They're all kind of the same thing. And you were able to generate 228 new clients in 17 days that produced over $350,000 in revenue. And that doesn't include the back end revenue. Would you like that blueprint? Like, this is what you get with us, right? On top of that, we give you access to bonus trainings. Our experts on our team are some of the best in the world at finance, management, and hiring to help create systems for that with you. You get access as a fractional CMO and CEO. You get access to a project manager that helps drive if we're fit. You get our team of copywriters, tech, automations, SEO, content. You get our traffic team that can run traffic for you. Again, we customize it to you. So all that being said, even if you wanted to write a check this second, just based on what we just covered, you couldn't. We got to see if we're a good fit. We got to see if there's alignment. We see if our values, see if there's opportunity. Our highest value client has paid us over about $1 million. We've helped them grow by over 10 million. We expect if we work together, we're going to be free to you, just like we are with our other clients. So if you want to learn more about how to be able to, set this up for your business and have us do what we do best, which is help clients grow exponentially and implement it with our team of experts, then go to breakthrough3x.com/apply. That's breakthrough3x.com/apply. Now, with that being said, one of the first most important points in this journey, especially as you're looking at getting more new leads, more conversions, higher value clients, begin with the end in mind.